I started my Facebook account in 2008 because my son at the time started his Facebook account. And like any good mother, I'm going to stalk him.
Welcome to the Simplified Social Marketing Podcast. I'm Chelsea Gardner, and if you're ready to make marketing clear, manageable, and fun with practical steps and effective tools, you are in the right place, my friend. Together, we'll untangle the complexities of marketing your business and transform them into clear, actionable steps. Let's dive in. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Simplified Social Marketing Podcast. I'm Chelsea Gardner, your host, and I am so excited today because I have my very first guest on the podcast, Miss Ginger Bell, who I have had the privilege of getting to know over the past couple of years and working very closely with. She is the owner of Edumarketing and the co-author with me of the AI Prompt Handbook. And today we're going to be chatting with you about ChatGPT, but I'm going to let Ginger kind of do a brief introduction of herself and then we'll dive in.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Chelsea. I am so excited that you're starting a podcast. And I know you're not new to podcasting because you are often a guest on a lot of podcasts in the mortgage and real estate space. And so I'm excited to be your first guest. So thank you.
Yes.
I have been in the mortgage industry, creating content in the mortgage and real estate industry for about 20 years. And prior to getting into the mortgage industry, I was a corporate trainer with Dale Carnegie Training. And so training has been a part of my DNA for a very long time. And one of the things that's very important to me, and that's why in 2020, which was a great year to start so many things, right?
Yep.
I changed my business model from my company at the time, which was called Go To Training, and I developed a lot of training content for companies in the mortgage industry, RHMI, Finance of America, First American Title. For that, I mean, it's like I was always behind the scenes developing content. And so in 2020, I changed my company name to Edumarketing and started focusing on providing resources for mortgage professionals specifically to create video and podcasts and book publications to educate rather than sell. And so that's the whole idea. It's educational marketing.
I love that name. I'm obsessed with the Edumarketing aspect of it.
Right.
And for those of you guys who don't know, Ginger Bell's team actually does all of my podcast editing and everything for me too. So great team, great team to work with. So super excited.
Yeah, the podcasts have been so fun. And, it's funny. And I'm the kind of person that somebody will come to me and it's like, hey, I need help with this. Like, okay, well, let's figure it out. What are the pieces that we need and what does that look like? That's how we started into our YouTube influencer program, which we do honestly everything. All our clients have to do is shoot a video and then send it to us. And we edit it, we produce it, we post on their YouTube channel, we post on their social media. And we have a lot of shared clients, Chelsea, because then you take over and do the rest of their social media. We only do the video production and the podcast production. We added the podcasts a little over a year ago when it was actually Devin Dubuque who came to us. And I've had podcasts for years. In fact, I won 2 tallies for a podcast that I did during the pandemic, which was called Flatten the Curve, Not the Spirit. And it was to help people who obviously we were all working remote and to keep a positive outlook. And we were crazy in the mortgage industry. So I love podcasts. But Devin had been at a Freedom Club event, Carl White's group, and someone had talked about you need a podcast. And so Devin listened and he started a podcast. And then he called me. He goes, okay, y'all told me to start a podcast. I have 2 episodes. Now what do I do?
What do I do now?
And I'm like, okay, well, put it on your YouTube channel and put it onto your hosting platforms and get it onto, all the directories. And he's like, I don't know how to do that.
Can you do it?
And I said, okay, well, let's do it. And I knew how to do it because obviously we had produced my own podcasts. And so that's how we started doing that. And and just putting those pieces together. I always like to take it one extra step though. So we do require that our clients have a podcast website,
Mhm.
which we use through a service called Podpage. So if you go to podpage.com, you can get it. It's like $180 for the year.
Yeah.
So, and this is an amazing website that takes everything that you are putting onto all the different podcast directories, because there's so many of them, right? There's Apple, there's Spotify, there's Amazon, there's Stitcher, there's iHeartRadio. I mean, it's like all of these different things. So if you're promoting a podcast, it's like you can't grab every single one of the directories. And then we require our clients to record their video podcasts as well, because then it goes into YouTube.
Yep.
YouTube started a podcast directory about 6 months ago. So now you can actually have a playlist that's your entire podcast. And so what the Podpage website does is it aggregates everything in. So you have an entire website along with the sponsor page, along with about you page, your hosting page. I mean, just everything. And it's beautiful. And so when you're promoting it out onto social media, or if you're going someplace like you're speaking in an event coming up. And so rather than saying, hey, follow me on my pod page, and people have to go to search for it, you can just tell them, go to my podcast. And so you set up a URL for it,
Yep.
and so it's easy for them to find. So your website for your podcast then is something you can promote, which yours is what?
SimplifiedSocialMarketing.com, podcast.com.
Yeah.
And it makes it easy because like you said, everyone has all these different platforms depending upon where you're listening to podcasts. And this one landing page has a link to all of them. So instead of saying like, here's the link to Apple, here's the link to Spotify, here's the link to like my YouTube channel or whatever, it's all hosted on one spot. So they can go right to your website. They can listen to it on the website, or they can click the link to download it and subscribe through Apple or Google or wherever.
Yeah. So the podcasts are very powerful, and people always ask, are there too many podcasts? No, there are not too many podcasts, because
No.
it's just another form of promoting. So if you are a loan officer and you want to reach real estate agents, if you want to reach financial planners, if you want to reach elder attorneys or divorce attorneys, whatever, start a podcast,
And
come
invite
up
them
with a
on.
name. The branding is critical. And I think that's one of the things, Chelsea, that a lot of people miss in the mortgage industry is, I want you to brand you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care what company you work for.
Right.
Nobody cares what company you work for. And I had a conversation yesterday. I was on a podcast with an individual, and he said during 2008, when we had so much going on, he he would go to one company, go out of business, go to another company, go out of business, go to another company. And so finally, people were like, okay, why are you moving so much? And if he branded himself, which is what he finally did, you wouldn't have that.
Right.
Obviously, there's compliance, you need to meet that, all those different things. But if you brand you, unless you own the company, unless you're a mortgage broker and you own the company, brand you, and that's okay.
Yep.
And so coming up with that is so important. And I'll give you an example. So we have a client who is in Charlotte, North Carolina. And she came to us and said she wanted to really start doing a lot of speaking engagements in her area. She had just gotten approved to do a CMPS CE class. And then she had seen that I do book publications for loan officers, which nobody ever thinks, oh, I can publish a book. And it's like, I mean, we published a book together, right?
Yep.
Made it pretty
Easy
simple,
peasy.
easy peasy. And so what I have is I have templates, because guess what, guys? You're all talking about the same thing. It's mortgages. It's buying a home. It's selling a home. It's not like it's rocket science.
Right? Yes.
So I have templates that we can take a template and then insert your personal information into it. And then I can put you onto Amazon. It's you have your own book name, it's your own book, you own the content to it. I set up your KDP account. I get you into the way to where you can be a best-selling author, which we hit, I think, 5 different best-selling lists with our AI Prompt Handbook. And so we did this, and we did this with April, but the key was to brand her.
Right.
And so for her, it's that hers is the agent growth. I can't remember the name of her website. I have to look it up. But it was the agent growth factor. And so we made her landing page for her. We got her book for her. She did a book signing. The book signing was a huge success. She had 40 real estate agents show up.
Wow. That's amazing.
And she sells the book. She gives some away when she's speaking. And then we put together workshops and we promoted all of that. And then she she calls me, she goes, "Can you put together a bundled link on my website? Because I have brokers wanting to buy it for their whole team. And they don't want to have to go in and do it individually." And so we set it up to where she sold it through her website. And so with that, then they were buying them in bundles. And so then starting in January, these brokers were starting a book club with her book on their own. She had nothing to do with it
That's awesome.
because real estate agents are looking for that information too. Now, the book that we did for her was called The Agent Growth Factor, and it was for real estate agents, and it went through the daily success plan.
Mm-hmm.
And it's creating that daily success plan. It went through time management. It went through setting goals. It went through, contacting buyers, having those conversations. I mean, it's like, it's the same thing that you're talking about. And people always think in a book that it needs to be something that you write. With ChatGPT, as we know, we can have it right in your voice.
Yep.
And so that fear of you having that book, it's been completely changed now.
Yeah.
And so, and the thing with the book, it's like, are there too many books? No, there are not too many books. Your book is the new flyer,
Yeah.
honestly. Having a book is what we used to do, giving out flyers,
And I
but more.
talked previously and like you kind of hit it too. You are your brand. So
Yeah,
your book is your brand. Your podcast is your brand. Like no one can have your podcast. No one can have your book. No one can have your social media pages.
right,
No one can have those things. So when you're talking about like branding and, is there too many books? Is there too many podcasts? Should I start a new business page on social media? Like it's just oversaturated. No, it's not. I mean, if you look even at our own industries in the marketing sector,
right.
everyone, it's so saturated. And it's like, no, like if you want to do business with Ginger, you're going to do business with Ginger. If you
Mhm,
want to do business with Chelsea, you're going to do business with Chelsea. Like
right.
you are your own brand and your own person. So I think that's a huge holdup too for some of our loan officer friends is like you said, it's saturated. And if everyone's having a book and everyone's having, well, your book is yours and for your real estate agents. And so that's kind of, I think, where a lot of people like that mindset shift has to happen too.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and the whole thing too, the more you put your brand out there and in your name, then the easier it is for you to create content. And I think that's a challenge for people. It's like, how am I going to create content? If it's you, if it's your brand, it makes it a lot easier
Mhm.
to be able to do that. And
Right.
people identify that. And it's like being loyal to that brand. It's like Danny Ruiz is an example. And Danny saw me speak a couple years ago, and he wanted to do videos in Spanish. And he came up to me and he says, "I want to do videos. I'm terrified of doing it. Can you help me? And can we do them in Spanish?" Now, I do not speak Spanish. I mean, my Spanish consists of dos Equis, por favor, doble la baña. It's like, that's it.
That's all I know.
That's it. But guess what? We can outsource that. That's not a problem, right? And so I said, yeah, absolutely. And because you know what? Clients, customers, consumers have the same questions and more so in that community, in the Hispanic community, because not a lot of people are putting information out there.
Right.
And so he started doing video. We started him on YouTube. Then he went he says, I want to do TikTok. And so he just started, I mean, he dove into TikTok like crazy. And he and I ended up writing a TikTok book together. Um, because that for him was that worked.
Yeah.
And so it's a lot of it is like find out what works for you. We talked about having a Facebook page. I love Gary Vaynerchuk. I had an opportunity to speak. I was invited to speak on his stage in, I think 2019, and it was on his Agent 2021 that was in Fort Lauderdale. And it was so great because I just went there and um, I was honored to speak, but I just went there to learn. I just want to learn. It was crazy. So I always listen to him a lot just because he's really good on the trends. And so his first talk that he gave in 2024, they had on his YouTube channel. And so I know was listening to his background, a thing I was listening to when I was working on a project the other day. And he said, Facebook has made a comeback with the younger market.
Mm-hmm.
And the demo for Facebook used to be much older, and now they're coming back. And I'm seeing that because I started my Facebook account in 2008 because my son at the time started his Facebook account. And like any good mother, I'm going to stalk him. And so my generation, that's why we're all on Facebook.
Right.
And we never left. I mean,
You
I
never
love
went over to
Facebook.
TikTok.
Now, my son and a lot of that generation, they went to Snapchat, they went to Insta. He's on TikTok because he has a master's in marketing and works for an international gaming company that does it. So Twitter is good for him. But they all left and started going to all these other ones. But here's the thing that Facebook has is community.
Mm-hmm.
And few other of the social media channels have been able to do that.
Yeah.
And so the thing that we're finding, and I know you are too, as far as Facebook, the business page, you have to have the business page, right? And people always, I hear this like, how come I'm not getting, the views on Facebook page? Like, because nobody goes to a Facebook page. So I get more views on my personal, and I do too. I get more views when I post a picture of me. Yeah. I mean, it's like those are kind of things, but you have to mix it up. So
Right.
look at that. But if you start a Facebook page, and we've started this with a client who does videos in real estate in Arizona. We started a business. So it's a business page, but instead of calling it your business name, you call it your local area. And so for her branding, we did living your best life today. And hers was about retiring in Arizona. And so for her, we're building the whole brand around because she sells real estate in Arizona. Guess what? There's real estate agents all throughout the country who have clients that are maybe looking for a second home
Sure.
that maybe live in Michigan or, in Ohio or in, Illinois, where it's cold in the winter and maybe they want a house. And so the whole idea in that branding is like, think about build that business page on Facebook and have your business page, but do another page that's focused on the area,
Yeah.
on your local area. And you can have several of them. And then start posting local information in there.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to know what to do a video about, start a business page that is on your local area. And, it's like, yeah, I live in Portland, Oregon. So I could start a business page. It's like, love PDX, and then you just go talk to a local coffee shop. Say, hey, I have a business page. It's called Love PDX. Would love to feature you on it. Can we sit down and do a video? Oh, by the way, I own a mortgage company. So if you ever have anyone that, is looking to buy, sell, or refinance, by all means, let me know. And you start building a relationship and you start posting content. Now you can post other content about, hey, You call a real estate agent. I see you have an open house. I happen to have a business page that is called Love PDX. Can I come by and do a video with you? Why, yes, absolutely. And, when you start doing that over time, you're going to develop a following and you can mix your videos in there that talk about mortgages, you know, but I mean, our topic, there's nothing sexy. It's like nobody wakes up in the morning and goes, man, I really want a mortgage
I
today.
have so many clients that are like, how do I make this sound sexy?
Use your sexy voice. You got to
Right.
use your sexy. I mean, it's like, but if you look at ways to do that branding that puts you in the middle, Cara White always says, find find the parade and put yourself, at the front of it.
Hmm.
And that's what it is.
Yeah.
And so build your brand, build you, find out what that is. But it all begins with you. You're at the center of it.
Yep.
And Chat GPT, and we wrote the AI Prompt Handbook. And we did that because we were getting a lot of our clients that were, saying, hey, how do I use ChatGPT?
Yep.
And so it's like, okay, well, we can show you how to use it. And I think we're going to come up with a second edition because there's been a lot of now changes into the ChatGPT and the GPTs and the content. And we knew that would happen, but we just wanted to start. So I think we're going to have our second version maybe in the next month or so. We talked about, is that right?
Yep. I think so.
Fingers crossed. Um, it's one of those things too. It's a matter of, you know, how can you use GPT and leveraging it because it makes it a lot easier in developing your ideas. So you could go
Yep.
into ChatGPT. It's like, what do I do a video about? It's like, hey, go into ChatGPT and say, give me 5 video topics on first time home buyers. And it'll give you a list of those 5 video topics,
Yep.
right?
Yep. I mean, honestly, I use ChatGPT for my podcast topics. Outside of also, I have, client questions or anything like that I pull from, but I go into ChatGPT and I'm like, hey, here's all the info about my podcast. Like before I even came to you with it, I wanted a layout of ideas like, okay, if I'm going to create a podcast, what am I going to talk about? What's going to be on it? And I went to Chat GPT and literally was like, here's my thoughts. Like, this is what I'm thinking. Here's what's in my brain. Here's what I want to do. What would you, I just ask it like it's a friend. What would you recommend? And what are some topics and ideas you would have if you were starting this podcast? And what are some titles? I mean, I even asked it for titles and names and ideas. And so it's hugely useful. So even for those that are like terrified to write a book, start a podcast, do a video, or they don't know what to write about, use Chat GPT and tell it what you're thinking, and it'll spit back a ton of information.
Yeah. Yeah. There's so much to it. I mean, I'm so excited that we are living in this era because this will never happen again.
Right.
I mean, this is a one-time thing. And I honestly, when we were in the green room kind of preparing for this, we were talking about I'm waking up at 4 in the morning. It's like my mind is like, okay, I can do this and I can do that. Like we've created GPTs for all of our clients. And so it's streamlined our operation. And now my thought is like, okay, I can have a GPT. I can create up a hierarchy of GPT. So I have a head GPT who talks to all the other GPTs and tells them what to do. And so, I mean, it's like crazy what's happening right now. I mean, it's like Scott Shang, who I co-host a podcast with the AI Clubhouse, he says that AI is like electricity. And it's all these things that are happening right now. It's crazy. And so being able to be a part of that, jump in. If you're not in there, jump in. It's free. If you
I
want
was
to,
just about to throw a plug in. I was just about to say, if you are not, If you are not in the AI Clubhouse, it is a Facebook group full of a lot of knowledge on AI, marketing, chat GPT, all of the things. Just go search AI Clubhouse and you will find it on Facebook and you can join the group.
Yeah, it's like, thank you. And I know you're hopping in there with us. And that's, we started this just because it's like, hey, let's just start having conversations. Um, I, been talking about AI and chat for a while now. And it's only, I mean, ChatGPT's only been around for a little over a year. So it was November of 2022 that it actually launched. And so it's still new. It's not
Yeah.
like it's old
Yeah.
and it's changing. But because we use a lot of AI products in our business for video editing and production that streamline our operation. And so, for us, because I talk a lot about it and I do videos about it, I was getting emails from people saying, hey, what can I use for taking a video and turning it into a blog post? It's like, oh, that's voice pen. And so people were starting to call me like the human Yelp. It's like- so I started a directory, which is called AI Beehive. And so it has, and we're adding to it every day. We have honestly companies now going in and adding their companies to it, which is why I started it. And it's a list of just different AI technologies. Now, I have not tested all of them, so I cannot endorse all of them by any means, but we are starting to go through now and doing videos and looking and testing and doing all of that because besides ChatGPT, there's a lot of really cool things
Yeah.
that you can use. I mean, you and I were just talking in the green room that you use a plugin to be
Mhm.
able to pull the transcript from the videos that we post for our clients. Like I said, we have shared clients. So you're looking for that to be able to turn into something else for a social media post, right?
Yep.
And so you use, what did you say you use?
Prodigy or Prodigy video link.
Yeah. And see, and I use YouTube Transcriber, which is a part of Merlin. And so there's, just one example, two different things.
Yep.
Both do the same thing. Some, maybe it's a little bit different for each one. And so it's that playing around. And that's what makes me so excited right now. It's like, do you have any new toys? It's like every day I wake up, it's Christmas. It's like AI Christmas.
I love
It's
that.
like, okay, it's like, hey, have you looked at this? Like, no, what does it
Oh,
do?
no, I
It's like,
haven't.
oh, does it? It's like, oh my gosh, are you kidding? That's
Well,
amazing.
when you were showing me some of those GPTs a little bit ago, I was like, "Oh, this is about to make my whole life just explode."
Right? That's why I'm waking up at 4 in the morning. My husband thinks I'm crazy. He's like, oh my gosh, what are you doing? He's going skiing for a week next week, and I am so excited because
Morning, noon, and night.
I can play all day on, on AI.
That's amazing.
So yeah, I mean, and that's the whole thing, you know, and I know a lot of your audience is in the mortgage and the real estate space. And so the past year and a half, it's been tough. I know it has. Um, but to be able to, if you want to look for some excitement and don't say, I don't know what it does. Like, look at it as a 5-year-old with those 5-year-old eyes and say, what can it do?
Yeah.
How can I make my life easier? How can it make it better? How can I use it? How can I share it? I actually have a client that I'm going to Dallas in March because he wanted to start teaching real estate agents how to use AI. And he went through, I have a ChatGPT mastery course. And so he'd gone through that course and he called me and goes, I want to learn how to do this and teach real estate agents. And I'm like, cool, let's do a workshop together. So I'm doing a train the trainer with him. And so he's going to start teaching real estate agents how to get into AI. And that's cool because it gives him a chance to talk to them about something else besides mortgages.
Yep.
He will talk to mortgages. And part of what we'll do is through the AI is teach, here's how, we use it in mortgages. Here's how you can use it in real estate. Here's how we use it in mortgages. Yeah. So it's like finding those kind of things. When you open up your mind to the possibilities of you, of what you can do, of the knowledge that you have, then, that makes it so much more fun, I think. and it doesn't become that, mundane, boring. And we kind of need that right now. We need that excitement where it's like, no, I'm excited about getting up again. Yeah, this is fun. This is cool.
That's awesome.
Because, interest rates will go down. We will see that, hopefully there will be more building going on. I mean, all those kind of things. But right now you have to keep yourself motivated. You have to keep your mind in check. And so, it's one of the things. And again, going back to this podcast, well, it wasn't a podcast, it was Gary Vaynerchuk's talk that he did. And I don't even know who it was for. They just recorded the whole thing. But he said for him, he's making 2024 the year of accountability. And for you to be accountable for yourself.
Right.
So, stop looking at mortgage rates are horrible and there's, no inventory, because the people that are leaning in and saying, yeah, mortgage rates are definitely higher, but people still need homes. So let's lean into that, are having great years.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of the members in the Freedom Club and Mortgage Marketing Animals, because Carl and the team post it, have had increase in business from
Yep.
2023 to
Yes.
2024.
Yep.
And so, that's the thing. It's like, be accountable.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not getting calls, then do something to get calls. Danny Ruiz, who started doing the videos in Spanish, and he and I record his YouTube videos together. So he and I hop on a call, we record through Zoom, we talk about topics, I record them and then give them to our team and we take over from there and we do it in Spanish and everything. So we had a call 2 days ago and he shared with me that he had just gotten off the phone with a realtor who he did not know, who had been following him on his TikTok videos and called him with 3 referrals
That's awesome.
because he was consistent.
Yep.
That's accountability, right? I
Yeah.
mean, so just start on it. And if you don't know where to start, pick up your phone, start recording.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to be long. And you have information. So many times I talk to people, it's like, I don't know what to say. Okay, I want you to think about if somebody called you on the phone. If I called you on the phone today and I said, hey, I'm a veteran and I'd like to buy a home. You wouldn't go, hold on, let me think about it.
Right. Yep.
What would you would just immediately start saying, well, you know what? The first thing we need to do is, have you used your benefit before? No. Okay, great. So the next thing we need to do is, you know, get your entitlement, go through this. Where are you looking? How much do you make? What can you qualify for? You know the answers.
Right. Yep.
Treat it like you're on the phone
Yep. Yep.
and talk to one person. I think that's the other thing. People think they need to make a video to several people,
One.
but there's only one person watching that video.
Yeah.
So if you have a conversation with that person, that one person, then you'll make that connection and they will be able to see that. So when you're recording, look in the camera.
Yep.
Look in the camera like it's a person. Years ago, I had a client that we recorded videos um, for for training videos, and this is before all the social media took off with videos. And he had a hard time looking at the camera, and we had a Logitech on his camera on his desktop, and so I got a Gumby. Remember Gumby, the
Yep.
bendy thing is maybe
Yep.
it's making a comeback, and so I took a Gumby and I honestly I hooked it to his camera, and I said, "Look
At
at
Gumby.
Gumby."
There you go.
And he's like, okay, because that's what it is. It's like we do some in-person video recording for our clients where we'll either fly there or they'll fly to our office. And so one of the things they love about doing that is we have a videographer behind the camera. And it's funny because when that videographer moves, they're like, no, 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 come back. I was looking at you. Like
Yeah.
it gives them something to talk to. So, I mean, whatever it takes, but
Yeah.
have that conversation with one.
And, so I always like, and I love that Gumby story. So I think I always like to give people one actionable item at the end of every podcast, just because I don't like to overwhelm people, right? So we've talked
Yeah.
about books, we've talked about videos, we've talked about podcasts, we've talked about, getting a Gumby and staring at it for your video content, which I love, which that might just be a little added bonus actionable item.
Get a Gumby.
Get yourself a Gumby. But
That's the title of the podcast. Get a
get
Gumby.
yourself a Gumby. What is one actionable item that you think my listeners could do tomorrow?
So I think the number one actionable item is to, what is your brand? Answer that question.
I like that. Yep.
And don't be afraid of answering that question. And in order to figure that out, you have to, really answer three questions. And that is, what problems do you solve? What questions do you answer? And what products and services do you offer? And so, when you really get into that, it's like, what is that brand? What is you?
Mm-hmm.
And it can be, it can be as simple as the mortgage specialist. It can be something as like helping you, grow. I mean, it's like whatever that is, your brand is you. So come up with that brand.
Right.
And it's, for some, maybe it is your name. And that could work. Whatever that is, get your brand and then get going.
I love that. I love that. Well, thank you so much, Ginger, for being on the podcast. Where can my friends find you?
So our business is Edumarketing, edumarketing.com, or you can go to meetgingerbell.com. That's my link tree. It has where you can connect with me on social media and join the AI Clubhouse.
Yep.
So you can look us up on Facebook. You can go to aiclubhouse.co. But honestly, if you go to Edumarketing, we have links to everything right there. So you'll just find it all right there.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And for those guys, make sure you also snag the AI Prompt Handbook. Ginger has free resources on the AIPromptHandbook.com website. Yep. So if you just go to AIPromptHandbook.com, you'll have access to where you can purchase her course. You have access to free downloads if you buy the book. So tons and tons of value. So thank you so much for joining me, Ginger. I really appreciate it. And I know everyone's going to love this podcast.
Likewise. Love it.
Awesome. I'll talk soon. Thanks for tuning into today's episode of the Simplified Social Marketing Podcast. Make sure to follow me on any of your favorite social platforms at the Chelsea Gardner. And don't forget to hit subscribe for your weekly dose of marketing magic. Until next time, my friend, remember to keep your marketing simple and effective.